Counting down. Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com, joined once again by the inevitable. Screwed that up. Damn it. Author of Fight, Everything You Ever Want to Know About Ass Kicking, but we're afraid to get your ass kicked for asking Eugene S. Robinson. Eugene, on his lunch hour from the big time, taking time out to talk UFC 178 with Kid Nate.
Yes, I'm here, and I'm glad to be here. And I finally figured something out. I finally figured out that I color code my clothing to the mood I happen to be in.
And today you're in a very dark mood.
Yes.
Wouldn't third base tell us that was racist, Eugene?
What?
Come on, black cats. Who came up with all that, huh?
That's part of like some Cat Williams comedy routine. I don't know what you're doing.
Cat Williams, one of the greats. That Cat Williams, not quite, but amusing occasionally. All right, Eugene.
Yes,
Are
sir.
you ready with the disclaimer to tell people?
The disclaimer is that, and I have to say this, at our ultimate goal is zero tolerance. That this fight, the previous weekend, where we had tons of don't cares, there were actually fights that were don't cares that became cares because the guys really turned out. So disclaimer has to hew along the line of, it's not you, it's a marketing behind you. If we don't care, it means that Sean Shelby, Joe Silva, the bald guy haven't done a sufficiently good job to let us know that you are great. That's your job now. So don't take it personally. Don't cry babies. Deal with it. Move on. Just turn in a stellar performance this weekend, and we'll all be the better off for it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. As you know, cage fighters tend to be more sensitive than some other interview subjects you might have, and so they're always reportedly getting their feelings hurt when we don't care about their fights. And off topic, but are you rocking a little bit of a Billy D. Williams mustache there?
Are you okay? Have you not known that I've had this mustache for about the last 7 years?
I've noticed the facial hair coming and going. It seems like I don't know. I don't
coming and going. No, it's been exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Because I was like going, is that new? And then I was like, nah, he usually has like a soul patch or something.
No, never soul patch. No, you're close. You're close. See, your brain is telling you something is wrong, and you can't quite figure out what it is.
Is it that you're using the HD camera we sent you finally?
No, I'm always using the HD camera, but
That's what you claim, but today you look especially well focused.
Well, I'm at my kid's house, so the Wi-Fi is probably better than at my house. But your brain is telling you, and I forgot to give the great reveal on Knuckle Up, because I made a big deal about it, what do Mike Goldberg and I share in common? I said I would reveal it by the end of the show, and I forgot in inimitable fashion. But that
Stints in rehab.
I don't know that, and I've never been to rehab. So, but despite urging,
I thought you came out as a sex addict. Didn't you go to like Michael Douglas's home for wayward wanderers?
Going to one meeting doesn't make you a member of rehab.
Let's see. I see. There's no Betty Ford clinic for sex addiction.
Not if you show up once, man. That's a guy who's off the program. I didn't get any chips for that, for showing up one day and then hitting on a woman who was there who had sex by the fry machine. No, that's not. I'm not a good candidate for being a friend of Bill.
But, I see. And you're not even supposed to be talking about it, are you?
Yeah, well, like Sonny Boy Williamson says, don't start me talking. I'll tell you everything I know. Which, as luck would have it, Brent Brookhouse, the whole Anthony Rumble Johnson thing, I've been darkly intimating this on my show for years, but, didn't want to put the guy on the front street. Much like I never wanted to put Samuel Jackson, who I did an interview with about 10 years ago, on Front Street for some of the,
You've shit all over Samuel Jackson like 3 times.
What's that?
You've crapped on Samuel L. Jackson on this show like 3 times. I'm about to don a shillelagh, in fact.
Well, but did I tell you why?
I believe at least once, but you know how my memory is, Eugene, so you'll have to refresh us.
Nah, I didn't tell. I've never really talked about why, except that he was thin-skinned, that I hurt his feelings, but I never talked about what he talked about that could have turned him upside down and would have had a noticeably aggressive effect on the entire rest of his career. And that was like, the borderline anti-Semitic shit that he was saying
You
during the
did
interview.
tell us about this before, but I'm not going to Donna Shalala it because
I
we
didn't
still
say
don't
what he
know.
actually said, though.
Oh, was it as
Yeah.
bad as Town, Jesse Jackson's infamous line?
No, it wasn't as bad as Jaime Town or anything Mel Gibson
Jesse
said.
Jackson recovered Rainbow Coalition full
He didn't
effect?
recover. Do you see footage of him from Ferguson? The
It's true, it's true.
protesters are like, "Hey, brother, how you doing? What are you doing here? Why don't you go over to the jailhouse and try to get them? You show up and we're poor. You leave and we're more poor. Get out of here."
Oh, oh, Jesse would be hurt. Jesse would be hurt to hear this, Eugene.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I never liked Jesse Jackson, so I would never been a fan. I thought he was a shyster and a crook. And I had a writer of mine when I was editor-in-chief of Code Magazine said,
but he
"We have
smeared
to go."
MLK's blood all over himself and prayed around in front of the cameras.
That's it for me, man. It begins and ends with that. That kind of contrivance. But anyway, to go back to something of much less singular historical import,
Anthony Rumble Johnson?
even before that, there's something in your head that's telling you that things aren't quite right and you don't know, and you focused on the mustache.
You moved the gray spot to the other side this week.
Nah, close yet. I dyed my hair because we had a show this past weekend.
Ah, so it's like, what, extra black? And then the white
spot? Yeah, it's Bela Lugosi black,
I see. So, Bella, did you just get some shoe polish and just...
Pretty much. That guy, that guy Gene Palmer, the drummer from Taxi Driver, he actually used to wear shoe polish on his head. And he smelled great, if you like shoe polish. Hey, cut it out. So, I'm sorry, there's a cat.
I see. It's not Popeye. It's a guest pest.
Yeah, it's the other cat. So anyway, that's what makes you. That's what was in your head when you go. Is it the mustache? No, it's a hair. So I just outed myself right away.
I swear, it's the focus and the better connection actually. So, but if you want to think it's the hair that I'm paying attention to that level.
It was deeply psychological. You didn't know something. It was like something was wrong, but you just didn't know what it was.
I see. All right. So we should probably get around to the fights because this is Care Don't Care preview for UFC 178. This was going to be the hottest, most happening fight card of the year, and then John Jones had a boo-boo. Alistair Overeem trained with him, messed him up. Some say, you want to hear a conspiracy, Eugene? I know you do.
Go ahead.
Some say Jones hurt himself shoving Daniel Cormier off the stage at the infamous Media Day brawl that they just got fined a combined $60,000 for yesterday.
No, that's not it.
You don't buy it?
No, I don't buy it because something like that would have been great to gin up the fight. Why conceal that?
I mean, why pretend that you lost your Nike sponsorship because of the brawl?
Hold it. Did he lose his Nike sponsorship?
He did. He admitted it yesterday, and people have been rumoring that he lost his Nike sponsorship forever. Of course, people were rumoring before that it was like he was getting paid in merchandise and shoes. So like the rumors have been rife on this Nike sponsorship deal, which the UFC wouldn't even let him feature the product on the broadcast. But he told the Nevada State Athletic Commission under oath that he lost it as a direct result of the brawl, and that it was a six-figure deal, just like the Ultimate Fighter's six-figure deal. So, anyway, I don't know. My spidey sense went off.
I've been sponsored twice, and both of my one sponsorship deal, I got 2 pairs of very expensive sneakers and a white bag.
Was it a canvas bag or a plastic bag?
No, it was faux leather, and it was Onitsuka Tiger. They sponsored Oxbow, and then I got sponsored by Volcom for something, which resulted in a jacket that I wear quite a lot, a suit, some shoes, and something else. I mean, I have to say, I always expected.
Was this in your Hustler video editor days, or?
No, it was for Volcom was for an appearance in some music video for some band that was on Volcom. So these sponsorship deals. Look, Turbo Negro, who I don't know if you know Turbo Negro.
Of course, the Swedish punk rockers from the 90s.
I think they're actually Danish, but yeah. So they cruised into a $250,000.
Cruise is the right word for those guys.
Cruise is the right word for the $250,000 deal for Levi's, and this was eating away at me. I finally go, yeah. I'm gonna contact the guy at Levi's. Hold
How
on.
did Turbo Negro get a $250,000 deal with Levi's?
Because there was a guy there. Every now and then, there these discontinuities where people just crazy things happen. He was a guy who liked our type of music, was working at Levi's. He convinced the muckamucks at Levi's, this is what we should do. Turbo Negro gets the deal. So
What was that campaign like? Turbo Negro loves hot young punk rock boys. Look at their butts.
No, because they were wearing all denim. So they're wearing like all denim, and they looked all fabulous in the denim. So perfect. So this is eating at me for a long time. I go, I'm gonna contact that guy. I find out who the guy is. I contact the guy. You know when I contacted the guy? Hey, he had quit that day.
Oh, your timing is always, Eugene.
Perfect.
Perfect.
But
come on, there's no I mean, you may perform in your skivvies, but Turbo Negro was like the most homoerotic Scandinavian punk rock band of all time, hands down.
Until Happy Tom became a
Tom of Finland?
Yeah, no, Tom of Finland is different from Happy Tom.
Is he? Let me Google this Happy Tom.
Happy Tom is the former singer for Turbo Negro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he either became a Jehovah's Witness or a Scientologist. I suspect Scientology.
Did he swear off penis?
Though that was part of their shtick, man. They were never.
So he says. Don't break my. You're breaking.
Oh, come on! It's like the Frogs, where you believe those guys were brothers and lovers. Come on.
Come on! I saw him on Jerry Springer or somebody very similar.
Yeah. Okay. And, I was on Jenny Jones. That stuff is never real.
Oh man! Did you see Mayweather on the NSAC hearings yesterday, saying that none of his reality show was real, that the pot smoke was fake, and that the Iron Man sparring matches were all fake, all edited together?
It must feel shameful for these guys that they should have to admit that this stuff was fake. The people who should be ashamed are the commissioners who have to lick Mayweather's butt every time he appears before the commission because he's such a big money player. Like, you know what? Don't ask for whom the bell tolls, Mr. Mayweather. That last fight was terrible. And now he's talking Pacquiao. You know what? Yeah. When are we going to see a Beatles reunion? Come on, that thing has sailed, man. That's not
two down, two to go.
Yeah, Tesco V famously said it.
Yes, but come on, Eugene. Mayweather's been putting on crappy fights more often than not for a long-ass time, and nobody cares. Everybody buys the pay-per-views.
It breeds a certain type of cynicism. At this point, it's like the great rock and roll swindle. People are paying to see him lose.
And maybe it'll come true. And I for one, will be hyping up that Pacquiao fight with a fervor if it ever happens. I even reflexively hype up any hint that it may happen, just cause. It's blogger, and it's like a blogger, a dead limb. Like anytime Brock Lesnar's name appears in the wires, I do a post. Like it's just Anyway, let's get to the fights.
Yes.
We've got a pretty stacked card. This was gonna be the most stacked, as I said, because John Jones and Cormier were gonna headline. They're not. Instead of the light heavyweight champ, we've got the flyweight champ, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson against Chris Carriazo, probably his most underwhelming challenger, and yet still one of the most stacked cards of the year. Even though I personally am not too pumped about the main event.
Well, but you know what? They've actually figured something out that's pretty smart, and it also to me illuminates the fact that the reality that they didn't figure it out before now. It was just them being cheap, and that's it. You got to have two headliners because if one headliner gets scotched, you still got to fight, But I know we don't want to have to pay them. We can gin up the undercard. Yeah, whatever.
Well, they had to move Demetrius over from UFC 177, where they were going to have two headliners, and so they're always shuffling deck. But let's get moving. We've got two fights on the Fight Pass card.
I love Fight Pass, by the way.
I heard you're a convert.
Yeah.
Very exciting. The best $10 a month you'll spend.
What?
What?
I've been doing the free previews.
And the free previews, huh?
Hey man, $10 is tough to come by these days.
I see. It's going to auto renew on you, Eugene.
We'll see.
Free preview thing.
We'll see about that.
All right. Well, we'll see how that works out. But anyway, the first fight, bantamweight, Manny the Anvil Gamburian against Cody Gibson, Care.
Yes, Care.
Me too. I just love Manny.
I love hard luck Armenians, as well as
Is
anybody
there
from.
another kind of Armenian?
I used to have this running joke on Skull Game about an Armenian who tries to sell you a radio. It had become my Skull Game meme back when Skull Game was a porn review site. And so every time I think of Manny Gamburian, I think of him. Hey, you want a radio? I got a great radio here. It's a great. You get all the stations you want. And that's my Gamburian invitation. That's it.
I see. I'm more of a hey, bro. You know who I am, bro? Do you know who I am?
That's right.
Cousin Carol Parisian, my favorite Armenian. But do you remember when Manny was making tasteless remarks about genocide, and it was like around the timing of the anniversary of the Armenian genocide, which has still never been declared a genocide, by the way.
No, the Turks will get very angry at you if you make this claim.
And so will the Israelis. I've had some Jewish friends get really irate about it, but they killed. I guess I feel like they've got like a monopoly on genocide or something. I don't know. Like that it's to be portioned out very carefully. And the Armenians, what they get 1 million people killed in 4 months or something like that.
No, see, that I would have scoffed at because this is no win proposition. If you were going to make the claim that it paved the way, that I would buy.
What paved the way for other genocides, or?
No, this whole idea that Hitler had said, and I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, about that 23 million is just becomes you kill one person, it's a big deal. 23
That's
million.
a Stalin line. That's not a
Stalin line. Yeah, no, but I heard that also in relation to the Armenian massacre, and I heard it attributed to, or in awareness, at least for Hitler, that big numbers were the way to go.
I see. Go big. Anyway, Manny Gamburian making genocide remarks.
That stuff. I mean, you might make that. You have your inside voice and outside voice. You got to learn how to separate the two. Even though we love guys who don't. I mean, the key to the Diaz appeal is that you get the sense that they're saying the same stuff at home that they're saying it for the camera. The reality and the genius of the Diazes is that they're not that way in person at all.
Yeah, I've heard they're actually both pretty chill guys.
Yeah, so it's much like Daniel Day-Lewis. People go, like this guy, he's great. Daniel Day-Lewis, the real Daniel Day-Lewis exists in his role. The guy that you see at the award shows, that's the actor. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for the award. And he kind of wisp away. That's acting. Butcher Bill is a real cat. That's Daniel Day.
So it's like the opposite of Peter Sellers. The story of Britt Eklund marrying him when he was in the middle of, I think he was playing the Pink Panther, and she fell in love with this hilarious, crazy character, and then, like on their honeymoon night, he's just a complete limp noodle in every sense of the word, no personality whatsoever, and she's like, what the fuck? And then she finds out he just is a complete cipher, and the only personality he has is whatever role he's playing at the moment. So, Anyway, but we care about Manny Gamburian and Cody Gibson. Do you have a pick?
Yeah, Manny is he is probably one. There's a special subcategory here. He is possibly at the top of my list of gift-proof fighters. By which I mean
you can count on him to throw a big right hand and go for a double leg, whether it's there or not.
Right, a guy I can't trust. Proof. In other words, I always trust Manny Gamburian to be Manny Gamburian. And that is an inconsistent quality. Whether it's his shoulder popping out or his knee or some hard luck story, it's going to hit. It's going to hit. So he is gift proof. And in that way, I can enjoy his fights no matter what, because something wacky is going to happen.
Quite possibly. If your idea of fun is watching a small Armenian man's shoulder pop out of socket,
I'm just happy he's not trying to sell me a radio, man.
All right. I can't pick Manny in this one. I feel like he's lost like 3 out of his last 8 or 4 out of his last 6, I think. Yep. And so it's just plus he had that no contest loss to Dennis Seaver, so he's really lost 5 out of his last 6.
Didn't that Dennis Seaver get popped for something?
That's why it's a no contest. Yeah, Seaver got popped for the Chael Sonnen brew, the stuff you take to mask your steroid use. So it was the cover-up. Like Nixon.
Right.
Not the crime was the cover-up. All right, so we care about Manny, but we're not picking him. Lightweights, John Tuck versus Kevin Lee, and this is not the star of Mad Men, John Tuck. Oh, his name's not John Tuck either. It's John Hamm. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, my mother went to Carnegie Hall once, and she had an extra ticket, see a symphony, and she goes, I don't have anybody to go with. She said, I know, I'll go with my friend D. She's gonna ask D, right? And so she's D, you want to go? And D was kind of, I realize it's pejorative for people that actually come from the country, but the old Chicago expression, which is where my mother's family
About
came
to say
from.
Bama.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Bama. She's a little country.
Flair,
Yeah, right.
I'm from a small town right here.
So they're sitting around and they're drinking champagne. They're enjoying the pre-show. And Dee says to my mother, "Did you happen to see Bowling for Dollars last night?"
Well, you bring Dee to Carnegie Hall. What do you expect?
Hey, there you go. So anyway, that's you messing up the name was like a moment like that for me just now.
That was a deliberate joke. That was a funny.
That's like at the end of the movie where they say it was just a dream. It was a dream. No, I don't care about this fight.
No, I don't care about this fight either. In fact, like I said, I didn't even know John Tuck's name. I thought he was a star of Mad Men. What do I know? All right, now we're moving on to the Fox Sports 1 prelims. We've got 4 fights there. It's going to be Saturday night before the pay-per-view.
Hold on. Just a procedural point. When you say Fox Sports 1 prelims, does this mean that I will not be able to see this on Fight Pass?
Not these 4 fights, no. You'll have to turn your cable dial to Fox Sports 1 or find someone with a TV set.
Okay, will I be able to find the Fight Pass ones on a TV channel?
No, you'll have to have a computer hooked up to your TV or just watch them right on the box. Or your phone.
This is crazy. Why don't they consolidate? This is just lunacy.
Because I don't think Fox Sports 1 has the space because it's college football season.
So I got to go to somebody's house with a laptop.
Maybe. Okay. Unless you have a friend with a laptop and a TV.
Okay, much like the Kurdish nation, I have to say I have no friends.
Boy, the Kurds have no friends right now. They're
except for the mountains.
Slaughtered right now. It's horrible.
That's why their national slogan is the Kurd has no friends except for the mountains.
Oh, that's a pretty good slogan. Can you say it in Kurdish?
No, I cannot.
Mr. Stanford Education.
I am being tricked. I'm being gaslit by Iranians, though, and that's another story possibly.
Gaslit by Iranians? What?
Every time I meet somebody, I've got a friend. He's Iranian. Yeah, I say, hey, man, you got to teach me some Farsi. He goes, great. I go, like, give me the basics. How do I say thank you? He says, merci. I go, that's French. He goes, I know, but it's the same in the language. So I meet somebody else who's Persian. I say, hey, something exchanges. I say, merci. He goes, what? I go, merci. He goes, what are you talking about? I goes, I thought that's how you say thank you in Farsi. He goes, that's French. I said, but an Iranian, my friend of mine, told me. He goes, no, that's wrong. So I go back to the guy. I say, hey, man, you just humiliated me. It's not mercy. He goes, oh, well, then you probably mean the word mamnoon. And I go, great. So I go to another Persian friend. He gives me something. I go, mamnoon. He goes, that's Arabic.
You don't trust the same Iranian twice, Eugene. That's your mistake.
And I go, well, how do you say thank you in Farsi? He goes, well, merci. I was like, all right, you guys. This is some Abbott and Costello shit. It's basic. Thanks. Arigato. Basic. Danka. That's all I want to know.
See, and elusive and tricky people, the Farsis, the Persians, with their Farsi language. Like, talk about tricky. Their language is not the same name as their people. It's like crazy time. Anyway.
Englanders speak English.
Exactly. Now,
Frenchers speak French.
But then you get into Germans and Deutsch, and they call themselves Deutschers. And yet, in English, we call the Dutch the Dutch. I was thinking about this in the driveway the other day.
How do you like this? Driving in Germany, and the cities have 2 different spellings of the names. Oh. Well,
in Germany? On the sign?
Yes. Cologne.
Oh, because it's Hochdeutsch and the other kind of
most
Deutsch.
Most people are not speaking Hochdeutsch. The average person. The average 18-year-old is not considered to be able to speak Japanese in Japan, or probably German in Germany, or very definitely Polish in Poland. You actually have to. You could be a grown person in Poland and not even speak Polish correctly. So. Okay, we've got.
Well, the ethnic jokes are just writing themselves when there, but we're not. It's not the 50s anymore. We can't do the Polish humor like you once could. But
I want to do a piece on Rommel.
What about Rommel? This is a Polish joke.
We're coming up on the day of his death, October 14th. So I'm going to do a piece on him.
I see. Where do you? A lot of people try to excuse Rommel because they're so in love with his tank tactics that they try to make out that he wasn't
Well,
really a Nazi.
he
And
wasn't a Nazi. You
but I
know?
mean, he was
He,
conquering the world for Hitler, wasn't that?
he was a German soldier. He fought in World War One, and was a
Just
member.
following orders, huh?
Nah, he was part of. He was incorrectly identified as being part of the assassination to kill Hitler, but he refused to be party membership, and he actually, like, anytime they would call him a Nazi party member, any publication, he would hound them into changing it, and they would print retractions way in the back, and specifically asked if he were to die in the battle that there be no swastikas at his funeral. He refused to kill Jews in the field, and he wanted there was a tank division that didn't belong to him that was involved in atrocities. He wanted them all court-martialed. So he was as straight a shooter as you're going to get, who also happened to be fighting for Hitler. You know.
The heady praise, Eugene. Heady praise indeed for.
I think I'm not going that far, man. I'm just saying Winston Churchill was a big fan. You know, there were a lot of Westerners who owned General George Patton. You know, he had a lot of. I mean, it's like, you know, Vince Lombardi of the armored tank divisions. You know, he was well respected.
What about Guderian? Is that how you say it? The real mastermind of the Panzer Blitz? Is that how you say Guderian? How do you say it?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it either. But yeah, you know, I don't know. How did he meet his end?
You know, I don't know about that, but I mean, don't you think that he was really the genius and Rommel just gets all the publicity?
No, Rommel in my mind is like Emmett Smith. You know, I mean,
if he sees daylight, boom, he breaks up the middle and gets 20 yards. Is that?
Most people don't notice. He was not one of those guys who was leading from the rear. He was leading from the front.
I saw Patton. He like pops out of a tank with binoculars on.
Yeah. I mean, this is not something that you will find many sane generals doing. You know, and maybe that's the key.
I see. Well, we got to keep moving though. We're 20 minutes in and we're just 2 fights down. So welterweights: John Doomsday Howard versus Brian Ebersol, the man with the shaved haircut. The guy who shaves his chest hair. Who's motivating you, the John Howard or the Brian Ebersol, or both?
Well, both, for different reasons. You know, Ebersol was this kind of journeyman laboring in obscurity, had a chance at the big show, showed up, and much like Pat Barry to a certain degree, who was living in his car eating, you know, rice and ketchup. You know, it was something funny that he came out, became this huge sensation, and then there was an inevitable. Like, I remember a detective that I talked to once, and he said, you know how you know who the murderers are? Take them, you put them in the cell, you check on them first thing in the morning. The guy who really did the killing, that guy is sleeping. You know, he's relaxed. He's like, yeah, you know. The guy who's pacing the floor, he's nervous. He's like, I've been railroaded here. What's going to happen to me? So it's like these guys have this grand moment of relaxation where it's like, finally, I freaking made it. You know, I don't have to live in a car. I don't have to. And I wonder about this. Call it the Eminem phenomenon. Once you hit it big, you know, you got to fabricate reasons for wanting to go on. Otherwise, you got nothing. You know. So Ebersol has been kind of soft and unimpressive the last few times I've seen him.
Well, he had that weird weight shift business where he was thinking about moving down in weight and didn't, and took a short notice fight and got his ass beat.
Yeah. But I still love watching him fight, man, and I love watching John Howard, who's motivated at this point to try to get back to where he was, back to where he once belonged. So I think it'll be a great fight, and I like watching both of these guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about this one too, but next one I'm even more pumped up for. I'm very curious.
Oh, wait, we got a pick?
Do I have a pick? Man, I got to go with John Howard. Ebersol's in Gicta country for me.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
You know, and plus he's 33. I think it's an old 33. So, but
he's a Dominican Republic 33.
He's not that old.
I'm 47, man. I mean 33.
I was about to slander you as an anti-karate and traditional martial arts guy because of your claimed hard-earned years of all the money you spent taking karate lessons. But Stephen Wonderboy Thompson against Patrick Cote.
Oh, I care about this for sure.
Yeah,
I just happened to be thinking about Cote when I was talking about Gamburian and about how Cote was just a hard luck guy, but he's Gamburian. Yeah, but right, I guess, yeah, there you go. But then Gamburian has stylistically hard luck. So I mean, you don't know how he's going to find a way to fail, but that's part of the attraction, you know.
Well, Kote's the guy who stepped on the UFC sticker in the middle of the octagon. And you could visibly see his knee pop out in his one title shot. So, you know,
I remember meeting that guy a long time ago at a hotel in Chicago, back when he was nobody. They had the martial
could have
arts.
started a hard-boiled detective novel with that sentence. I remember meeting that guy in a hotel in Chicago back when he was nobody.
Well, it was the martial arts marathon where you fought two rounds grappling, 2 rounds kickboxing, and 2 rounds MMA. And so you had the 6 rounds, man. That was really torturous to watch. But I was sitting there with the promoter, and the guy was like telling me about a Brazilian team that will remain unnamed. He goes, "Man, I can't have those guys at any of my events anymore." And apparently they're walking to the cage to the fight, and somebody said something in the audience, and it was like the Brazilians were all like, they're walking to the cage together. Somebody said something to the audience, and like they all turn into the audience, beating up the audience.
That wouldn't be the Carlson Gracie team, would it?
Yeah, I think it might have been. But no, I'm not going to say. But you know, we don't take shit. So, yeah.
But what's that got to do with Patrick Cote?
That's why I met him at the hotel.
I see. You met him at the hotel during that show. All right. Let's get back to the thing I was trying to go to with Patrick Cote, who's got pretty classic, disciplined kickboxing, against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who has what some would call bullshit karate style. Like just traditional martial art, hoo-ha with the spinning kicks and the hook kicks and the magic chai, death chai touch and the whole bit. Dim mak.
Hey, that shit works, man. Actually, I'm not kidding at all. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, do you have a pick?
I can't in good conscience pick Cote. It's been so long. I like the guy, but I just how long has it been? I see you looking.
I'm looking. Let's see my blazing fast internet. Now I'm scrolling. He's got 3 straight wins, Eugene. Of course, one of them was a disqualification. April of this year, he got a win over Kyle Noak. Remember that? How could you forget?
I do remember that. Not the DQ though.
The DQ was Sakara in November of 2012, and then he beat Bobby Volker by decision in a really piss-poor fight at UFC 158. So
I'm not gonna pick Cote. I like him, but I can't.
So you're going with Wonder Boy?
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Gonna go with the axe KO by axe kick?
Yeah.
When you were in your karate days, was axe kick your big go-to, or were you more of a spinning kick?
A spinning back kick was my thing.
To the body or the head?
The body. I broke 2 sets of ribs with that kick. You know?
Ouch! Was that in these karate competitions where you can't hit the head, but you can just tee off on the body?
Yep. I mean, and the thing is, I've learned, because I was good at it, I've learned to watch for it. You know, if ever, you know, you got a guy in a traditional stance, and he starts snaking that, not even snaking, he starts stepping that right foot behind so that it looks like an exaggerated view that his feet would be perpendicular. His lead foot is straight, and the other. Sorry, I got the camera in the other hand, and you know, perpendicular. Figure out here, and the other one is here. He's coming around for that kick. And
so that's when Joe Rogan says he's telegraphing the spinning kick. That's what he's looking at.
That's what he's talking about. And always what happens is when you start to make that move.
You ever notice whenever he says that you can't see their feet on the camera?
Yeah, I know that's weird. Well, you know, who knows who's in the production truck. But so then he does that, and psychologically what happens when you start, you know, torquing the body and bringing that leg up, most fighters are going to go, even Muay Thai guys are going to bring their hands up because they want to protect what they think is the most valuable asset right there. But that's not what happens. Man, you bring those hands up, and I get right under that elbow, and there go your ribs.
I see, but in karate, there's no reason to bring your hands up to protect your head.
Yeah, I broke 1 set of ribs in practice.
A teammate hurting a teammate like Alistair. I have a little Alistair over him right here.
I felt terrible about it. He never came back.
Oh man.
But he and I were going so hard with each other. It was one of those things where it was like, you know, it was like the whole hand above hand on the baseball bat. You know, I got the top, man. You know.
I see. It's like John Jones said about his tussle with Daniel Cormier. He had to keep face. He had to maintain face and dominance. All right. So we're both picking Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I'm doing it because I'm an unabashed traditional martial arts mark, man. If somebody starts throwing karate kicks, I'm there. I'm down. It works. It's magic, and it works. All right.
Well, the question is, I mean, this is something that I think TMA should sort of missed out. It's like, yeah, okay, against another martial artist, it may not work, but in a self-defense situation, it is still credible. That's a question. Is it still credible?
Haven't you seen the YouTube videos like white boy demolishes pimp with crazy karate move? I mean, there's like 50 of them, and if you get one, then YouTube just keeps bringing them you more.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine had been in prison a bunch, and he was a prison fighter. And
Did you do that block? What's the prison style 52 block?
52 blocks. No, I tell you, I had the guy James Painter Jiu-Jitsu up in Reno, and he was the guy who I got for the 52 block section of the fight book. And he did some of that stuff to me. Never, ever volunteer. If some guy wants to show you rock and roll, prison fighting system, 52 blocks, never show him on somebody else, because he did the slap, grab, and roll, and it was the singularly most unpleasant martial arts experience of my entire life.
Really? Worse than being choked by Frank Shamrock in front of a hot chick.
That was just pride, man. This dude, James Painter, is one tough SOB and had no compunction at all about I don't even have to use the word literally when I say grabbing my scrotum,
Monkey grabs the peach, huh?
Monkey grabs it, slapping my testicles as hard as he could. Subsequently, when I bowl over, grabbing the scrotum and then rolling into this twisted, terrible thing, which ended up with him like in the mouth, one hand still in the scrotum, the other hand about to punch my face. I'm like, hey, man, hey, number one argument in favor of staying out of jail.
All right. So you heard it here first. Today, Eugene has vouched for both the Dim-Mak Death Touch and 52 blocks, controversial in many MMA circles.
And if you meet a practitioner who is Indonesian and you scoff, you're making a big mistake.
I see. So, I didn't know Indonesians did 52 blocks. I thought they did Salat.
No, the Indonesian who showed me Dim-Mak did Salat. The 52 blocks guy, there's a kind of a semi-secret seminar I go to twice a year. It's coming up in the first week in October up in Truckee.
You realize we're on the air, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Never mind. No, it's open to the public. If people want to come, they can email me. You got to pay, but this is where they show you this stuff. This is where I was telling you about the knife fighting that they actually do with knives.
Like, remember the Dog Brothers?
Yeah, I remember those guys. I do very specifically.
All right, well, I gotta get things moving again. Though we've got lightweight George Gamebred Masvidal, friend of Knuckle Up, against James Krause.
Yep, care 100%.
Big care.
I'm calling it for Masvidal.
Easily, I think they're trying to get him back on track and not a gimme fight, because Krause is tough, but one Masvidal should be able to win.
Yep, I love watching Masvidal fight though. There's something about I like we all like the guys who are fired up, the Clay Guidas, but the Diego Sanchez. I still really like the guys who just kind of come out just
ice cold. What's colder than cold? And I forgot he's already got 2 wins. I'm still remembering his loss to Rustam Kavalov, but he's coming off a win over Darren Cruikshank. So anyway, all right. So we both care about that. We're both picking Gamebred. That brings us to the headliner of the preliminary card, How the Mighty Have Fallen. Former bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz going to headline the preliminary cards against Takeya Mizugaki. Care?
Yeah, of course I care.
Of course.
And
you have
whatever, the mighty has fallen, man. You gotta, Jack, step out of line. There's no, what Ian Mackay said.
He said a lot of things. Guilty of being white was one of them. What else did he say? I was trying to remind Ian Mackay of his white.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I got some news for you. Nothing is fair.
I see. It's true. And Dominic Cruz seems like a nice guy, and he's a great commentator. But as a fight fan, I hated his fighting style. The dancing, dance in, dance out, get a point, dance around, get another point. Clipping his ACL is like clipping his wings. I'm looking for him to be slower and more hittable.
Yeah, maybe he could join Francis Carmont in some alone.
Yes. I was reading about Al Cap, the cartoonist of Little Abner fame today, and this guy, I'd read the book on him a while back, and I knew he was a shitheel, but I'd kind of forgotten about it. The guy was a complete shitheel to the point that when his former mentor committed suicide, they'd been feuding for 20 years, Al blatantly and publicly celebrated the guy's suicide. Now that is a shitty person right there.
Ah, man, that's pretty bad. That's
Yeah.
pretty bad. That's
Yeah.
almost as bad as me leaving the body of a friend who had OD'd because I didn't want to get involved and calling my friend Steve, Dr. Steve Ballinger, who I've had on Knuckle Up, and say, "Hey, I'm not gonna get in trouble if I just leave." He goes, "You're gonna feel guilty." I go, "No, I'm not." He goes, "Well, stay. You gotta stay." I go, "Then stay. Call 911. Give him mouth to mouth." What? No way.
I got to Donna Shalala this. It's a great story.
Yeah, it's okay. You can Donna Shalala it, but I always reveal something new, so you miss out on the new
and
thing.
I see. So we're gonna hear about when you did try.
It's like an onion. Each time the story changes.
And the walrus was Paul. Oh my God. Now we'll never know. We'll never know. All right. Do you have a pick between Dominic Cruz, the man I love to hate, and Takeya Mizugaki, who's a gamer? Everybody likes Takeya.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to go with Cruz.
Yeah, I think so too. Just because until we see that his mobility's been lost, I just don't think Mizugaki has the style. I mean, you're not going to get inside and bust up Dominic Cruz, and you're not going to take him down. And there goes Mizugaki's game.
Yep.
So, all right, main card now. 5 fights, pay-per-view. I think this is going to be a unanimous cares, except maybe the headliner, which is a funny thing.
Nope,
First up,
care.
You care? All right, so Eugene might be going 5 for 5, but we'll see. Women's bantamweight, and because you're what the MRA guys call a white knight. I know you're going to care because you're one of those vicious reverse sexists that's keeping men down. How can men fight back against this kind of repression?
Yeah. What I said on my show this week, if you got trouble this week, it's got testicles attached. And luckily, as I said that, it ended up being completely not true for this week for me.
Yeah, some of the ladies.
My trouble this week did not have testicles attached. It's like, I should have known. I should have known the second those words came out of my mouth.
Oh, yeah. Lady Macbeth around the corner.
Yeah, distaff difficulties.
Oh, well, unlike Jay-Z.
Yeah,
trouble.
Jay-Z, he's got elevator problems.
He does.
After seeing Ray Rice, so you have to say, dude dealt with it in a way that kept him out of the news.
He did. I mean, it was in the news, but Jay-Z is news. But Jay-Z looked collected.
It would have been way more in the news had he done.
Oh yeah, he would. That would have been a serious blow. But as it is, people are just like, well, what was going on?
Yeah, right.
I mean, and nobody's really.
I mean, this is the question that we've raised before, and you said, at what point, what qualifies too much?
Like, how many times can she hit him before he defends
I'm thinking
himself?
about Warren Moon when the wife is hitting him with the fireplace poker, and he kind of reaches up to push it to save his life because she was beating him with the candelabra and the poker, and then pushes her up and she falls against the fireplace, and then it was domestic abuse.
Well, that's Warren Moon shouldn't have been in Texas.
Yeah, right.
Married to a woman of the Anglo persuasion. That's the odds on that.
There was a guy who was getting beaten up by his woman routinely, and everybody in the neighborhood thought it was completely hilarious. It was not in my neighborhood. A friend of mine told me. She was talking about a neighborhood in Poland.
In Brooklyn when you're growing up?
This is in Poland. And
Poland.
And the guy was like, it was like a running joke. It was like, my chick got beaten. They got me. And it was like everybody. It was like a parade was in town. And this woman was big, and she would beat the hell out of the guy.
Everybody I'm visualizing a real babushka here, like just.
Yeah. Well, you could also be visualizing being on the other end of those beatings.
Not fun at all.
But anyway.
I remember taking a Chinese history class, and one of our entire class discussions got derailed. Have you ever heard the book Fan Shin about when the communists take over the farming village and save the day, revolutionize the way the peasants farm, and it's like one of these glories of Chairman Mao's revolution books. It's actually a really good book, but you got to take it with a grain of salt. But there's one character in the book who's like the village cuckold, And it's just like a recurring gag line. Every time he goes out to the field, somebody's in the bedroom with his wife. And, it's just
that's all fun and games until they had a situation up here recently at Bally's Gym in San Francisco where some guy asked another guy's girlfriend, it's like, "Hey, why you come on? You want to?" She said something like, "You got a nice motorcycle. You should go cruising together. Put some steel between your legs." And he's walking away. The boyfriend hears this, picks up the tricep push-down bar, brains him, kills him in the gym, and flees.
ouch. That is poor self-control right there, I would say.
Yeah, that guy wasn't thinking straight because while he's in prison, she's going to be taking lots of motorcycle rides.
Indeed. Indeed. Maybe with the warden, a la Ally McBeal in The Getaway.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Which Steve McQueen never forgave her for. She got him out of jail, and he was not happy about it. Anyway, so, Mr. White Knight, Kat Zingano versus Amanda Nunes.
Oh, of course. Ever since Jermaine Iron Lady de Randami, and I'm mispronouncing her very Dutch name, said that she thought that a much more interesting competitor that nobody had paid attention to was Amanda, and a much tougher challenge for Cyborg. I mean, a much tougher challenge for Ronda than Cyborg. Then I paid attention, and I think Kat Zingano, I never really believed the story of the injury. I did believe the suicide of the husband, but I thought that it could just be that she was a hard-luck girl, and I see her as very possibly, I'm seeing, you're as good as your competitors, and both Zingano, Nunes, and Cyborg are the roads by which Ronda will step into greatness if that's in the books for her.
I see. I too am. Zingano, I think, is the scariest gal in the bantamweight division currently that's not named Ronda Rousey. But the injury I do believe there was an injury because I'm not as conspiracy.
Yeah, I didn't say. I'm just not sure.
I see. And also, the suicidal husband was an estranged husband, so which I'm sure doesn't.
I buy it. I thought this whole now Ronda's agreeing to go up and wait to fight Gina Carano, but she wouldn't do it for Cyborg. Come on, man.
Would you? I mean, really?
I met Cyborg back when she was a Strikeforce fighter, and I'd fight her.
I'm not asking if you, Eugene Robinson. I'm asking if you were Ronda Rousey. Come on now.
We just went down a really weird road.
No, I'm not talking about the Andy Kaufman Memorial Interstate Championship here.
No, I was thinking about something else completely,
Oh. Yeah, we don't.
Okay.
No.
All right, let's stop.
That's very disturbing.
Everybody's like, Dad got creepy.
Yeah. But that also, anytime you think about Cyborg and as Mrs. Cyborg, and then you think of Chris Cyborg and Evangelista Cyborg coming together in the conjugal sense. And,
I can't.
Man, although it would make a heck of a movie scene in a prison movie, don't you think?
Okay. See, we're not doing ourselves any favors here.
Oh no, we're just digging
we're getting worse and weirder.
So, are you gonna pick Zingano or Nunes?
I'm gonna pick Zingano.
Yeah, I got two as well. Although the injury thing could be an X factor. Let's move on. Texas's own Tim Kennedy, middleweight, against Yoel Poopy Pants Romero.
I'm gonna have to go.
And we care.
We do care, and I'm gonna. I think Kennedy is kind of a stooge, man.
What? He's a solid pro, open gun carry, kind of all-American. You should follow his Twitter. You'll be more patriotic by the day, Eugene.
Yeah, I mean, this has got nothing to do with the guy's fight style, but I just can't. Man, that stuff, it just...
The one thing I think you should give Tim Kennedy some points for, though, is he is a consistent thorn in Zuffa's side. This guy is a fighter who will fight for his rights.
How so?
Well, contractually and speaking out publicly and so forth. He's been making noise about not being drug tested, for one thing, for this fight.
He doesn't want to be drug tested.
No, he does want to be drug tested. He claims he's been calling the Nevada State Commission asking to be drug tested. Nothing. I mean, he's doing it from Taylor, Texas, but,
Yeah, that doesn't mean I'm going to root for the guy. I'm going to go for the Poopy Pants guy.
Go for Poopy Pants, huh? So, rooting and picking for are synonymous.
Yeah, well, in this instance, yes.
Yes. I got to go with Romero because I just think he's exceptionally talented, although I think he's a Dominican Republic 39. A Jack Benny 39, man. This cat is he says he's 37. I think he might even be older than that, but he is incredibly talented. He's very much like a slightly larger Hector Lombard, but
Yeah, and I find myself confusing them a lot. But if I Yale,
I tell you Cubans apart.
Well, he was actually he's a friend of Knuckle Up as well. So.
And unlike Hector Lombard, who I've never heard anyone refer to as a friend of anything, no. Not a well-liked guy, Hector Lombard. Anyway, Yoel Romero, I think he's a terrible stylistic matchup for Tim Kennedy. In fact, I think Joe Silva booked him against Yoel Romero as a fuck you punk, keep causing trouble, kid. This is what you get. So, could be one of those classic gutsy white boy, completely physically outmatched.
How come nobody's come out to Foreigner, dirty white boy? How come nobody's come out to that yet?
I don't think Kim Kennedy's. He's like a family values guy. Like we need like a really sleazy white guy to come out to that. Like, But someday maybe we'll see the guy.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So this brings us to what some are calling the true main event of the evening: featherweights Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor.
Yep. Care. And I'm going for the angry Irishman.
How can you not? Because this is basically, Poirier is tough as shit, but stylistically, this is almost a gimme fight for McGregor.
Yeah.
Poirier charges in, and McGregor's a brilliant counter fighter. Poirier's not going to be going for the takedown. It's just But are you buying the Conor McGregor hype?
Yep.
Yeah, me too. I think they can even get him all the way to a title fight without putting him in front of a wrestler, and I will have no problem with it.
Yep. No, I'm buying it.
But do you think he could take Jose Aldo?
No.
God, no.
That would be, Eugene had lost his mind if he said yes to that. Are you kidding me? No way.
It's true. All right, so now comes a more interesting handicap match. Lightweights, Donald Cerrone versus Eddie Alvarez. Big care, I'm guessing.
Yeah, big care, and I don't know that I'm buying. Sorry, I don't know that I'm buying.
I don't want to tell you your business, but your face is completely out of the frame. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm not buying the whole. I don't know, man. I'm not seeing this. I got to think about this a little bit more before I'm going to feel comfortable making a pick.
What are you not buying? The Donald Cerrone outdoorsman rodeo riding?
No. That's a given. You got to deal with that guy. I'm not buying Alvarez as being the. I don't know. In other words,
don't believe the hype, like Flavor Flav.
I'm having a hard. No, you can't have it back, you silly rabbit. I don't know that Alvarez is going to be able to come in and get that mojo back. I don't know. I don't know.
No, he screwed himself. I doubt you listen to Sam Kaplan's Insider MMA podcast because you're not paid to do MMA full time like myself. But this is the thing. I feel my you got a real day job, but I fill my lonely hours with things like the Insider MMA podcast. And Sam Kaplan, the former matchmaker of Bellator, he outlined what a complete clusterfuck that Bellator versus Eddie Alvarez situation was. He was like, look, first off, UFC should not have, they were being cheap and dicking around and offering him, no way Bellator should have been able to match that contract in the first place. It wouldn't have cost the UFC, it was a marginal cost for UFC to just make a bid that was untouchable. So bad on the UFC first. Second off, just like your man, who's your MMA manager, buddy? Come on.
I'm sorry, Mike Hogan. I just remembered the name of the band. 16 horsepower.
This is from 2 episodes ago. Am I correct?
No, well, this is from Knuckle Up of this week.
Yes. I posted on YouTube. I was going to look it up, and then I didn't. Mr. Empty Promises.
From the record, Secret South, 16 horsepower. Just came.
16 horsepower. So, for the hardcore MMA Nation fans who never miss an episode, there you go. 16 horsepower. All right, but back to the conspiracy about Eddie Alvarez and the contract. And then, as your buddy Mike Hogan pointed out, Alvarez's management should never have signed that contract. Because they should have seen, you know what, guys, Bellator can match this. Let's just wait.
Yep.
And then Kaplan says Bellator shouldn't have done that because he says they spent far more on the legal team than it would have cost them to make Eddie happy. He said Eddie really just wanted money, and that if they had spent that money on Eddie instead of wasting it on lawyers, everybody would have been happy. They would have got their fight, no lawsuit, no bad publicity. There you go.
Yeah. Well, this happens. I had a a sexual harassment problem when I was at Intel.
I see. Were you somebody getting handsy with you, Eugene?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah,
Was
and
this a lady or a fella?
it was a lady.
I see.
And,
Poor Eugene.
well, you know.
Yeah, it's your own fault. You were dressing too dapper, Eugene. You should have taken
Yeah,
it down a notch.
well, you know what? And so
Stop
they,
brushing your teeth, sexy boy.
well, and so they ended up paying me a whole chunk of change. I had to sign a contract that said I would never talk about it.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's
They
just
paid you. Eugene got a sexual harassment
a
settlement.
settlement. So they realized it was a pre-settlement because this was in the early days of the internet. So they had exposure because I'm sorry, I have to plug in the computer because I had emails, that laid out my case in living color. But in the end, it would have just behooved everybody if they just realized that sometimes bosses fuck up, and I mean, she was ultimately fired, but so was I.
Man.
So they refused to give me my job back, and it's like,
Yeah, that's bull. Did I lose your audio, Eugene?
no, I can hear you.
Okay. Good. Yeah, man, that's a hard situation. I had no idea how your Intel career ended, but victim of sexual harassment right here. See, men's rights movement. He is on your side.
Yeah, make no mistake.
You're like the future governor of Texas here, who's rolling around in a wheelchair and he's rich off settlement money from the tree that fell on his neck, and yet he gleefully participated in the Republicans shutting the courthouse door. Like literally, the suit he won a fortune on, you could no longer file anymore in Texas. And he's like, yeah, fuck you, I got mine, and vote for me.
This that's the part that is so galling that you can't believe it happened.
And it works. He's gonna win the governorship. It's like it's just Anyway, so there's Eugene. If it wasn't for the valiant efforts of the men's rights movement, you wouldn't have got your sexual harassment settlement. And here you are being Mr. White Knight.
I never went down that line. I never went down. I didn't utter the R word, racism, or I didn't say any of that. I just said, here are some emails I have.
I see. And why didn't you just play ball? Take one for the team.
You know what? In a different framework, in a different mindset, I think I would have, but I was engaged to be married at the time.
Well, I gotta applaud your yeah. There you go.
Filed under, not a complete piece of garbage.
Well,
she was an attractive woman. She was an attractive woman, but come on. Man.
And maybe making yourself unavailable just infuriated even more, Eugene. See, it's always the victim's fault.
Yeah. Look what you made me do.
Exactly. You drove the poor woman. I mean, it's Intel. Like, how many guys are there that, like, bathe, Like, it's all Intel, pocket protectors. And Intel shows up with cologne on. And...
Well, I had a date there once with my boss was trying to set me up with somebody. I didn't realize that's what it was.
Same boss?
No, another boss. I didn't realize that's what it was. Otherwise, I would have put a kibosh on it, And it was with this woman who had been a newscaster but decided to go in-house at a company. I was like, all right, I guess, okay, it would be nice to know each other. She was in marketing. So we went out to one lunch, and we walked to the parking lot where my car was parked, a 1967 Chevy Chevelle, and she was like, I'm not getting in that. And I was like, that's pretty funny. And I opened the door, and she's planted her feet on the ground and refuses to get in the car.
Because it was a muscle car, or because it was all?
I hadn't painted it. It had big patches of. It was a yellow car with big black patches of primer on it. I'd just gotten it, And I never really spoke to her again after that. We went to lunch in her IROC or 280Z, which was really physically. I mean, I was like 260 then. It was physically uncomfortable for me to be in, but I just thought she was an idiot.
I see.
Because of the car, I'm a New York guy, man. Everybody in New York car has jacked up cars because of the salt on the roads. I hadn't kind of clued into the fact that now I understand that Californians have like, why does your car look like that? I mean, you would have to question why a guy's car looks like that if you've got the money to fix it. But exactly. I was thinking like a New York guy then. So.
And ladies, who really cares about cars is ladies. They really do.
Well, I mean, as an external indicator of some sort of wealth, yeah, it seems I've seen the videos. psychosocial experiments with a guy stand by a Rolls Royce versus a hoopty. Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, it's like, totally true. Anyway, we got to get back on track. Do you have a pick between Cerrone and Alvarez?
You know what? This is what I can't even think straight about this fight. It would be okay for Cerrone to lose after all this hubbub. It wouldn't be okay for Alvarez to lose. And so I'm basing my pick on this on how much Cerrone wants to crap in the middle of the cake. I mean, yeah, he could lose, big deal. But I think the temptation to crap in the middle of the cake and turn Alvarez into a very expensive gatekeeper is just too great.
Anybody who wears a cowboy hat like that is a cake shitter. I can tell you. That is an excellent insight. I think stylistically also the kicking and the knees. Alvarez is a boxing guy. The kickboxing is going to throw him. And the thing is, though, Cerrone's a slow starter, and Alvarez can get hit early. So I don't think Cerrone's going to be capitalizing on Alvarez's biggest weakness. So that makes the X Factor very intriguing fight. High-stakes fight, like you said, one I'm looking forward to. I'm rooting for Alvarez because I want to see Alvarez against Pettis or Melendez in a title fight. But
Yeah. Well, he's really got to earn it, man. He's got to earn it.
Well, if he beats Cerrone, I think he'll be well on his way.
If he's smart, he'll win this fight. I don't think it's a question of technique. I think it's a question of real intelligence, But I definitely see Cerrone trying to spoil the homecoming. And if I have to make a pick on this one, if I have to base it on myself, the desire to crap in the cake would be so overpowering that through a sheer act of will, I would win it. So I'm going to have to call up the Cerrone.
I see. Well, we will reconvene next week and talk about how this came out.
I don't feel confident in that pick at all. It should be noted.
I see. Eugene's hedging his bets, ladies and gentlemen. Note for the record that Nate is not hedging his bets. What you see is what you get.
Who are you picking?
I already told you. I'm picking Alvarez.
Oh, that's crazy.
All right. So, now the headliner nobody cares about except Eugene. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson against Chris Carriazo. Carriazo was supposed to fight Horiguchi on the UFC Japan card last week, and then boom, now he's headlining a pay-per-view. This is crazy pants.
Well, Carriazo trains with Darren Bone Crusher Oyenoyoma, so he's got a Bay Area connection.
I see.
Darren is a friend of Knuckles.
And that reminds me of an email you didn't even reply to that I sent you the other day.
I'm sorry. What did you say? I'm like 1,600 emails behind.
You don't need to pretend to be sorry.
I'm thinking about canceling my email, like closing it down, because I just can't. There's no way I can get from under it,
I say, well, I know you're busy with the Oxy and the Oxbow and the Fightland. I say Oxy because I'm always thinking about OxyContin. Anyway, never mind. And oxytocin, the love hormone, which is one of my favorites.
I'm sure that's what you were thinking about.
Anyway, and now I don't. Oh, what fighter recently left the Bay Area? Like within the last few weeks, moved away? Anybody coming to mind?
No, I give up.
That's it. It's not a quiz. I'm asking you, like seriously. Like one of my writers is looking to know.
That's right. You just sent that email.
Yesterday.
Yesterday is just for me.
Maybe 2 days ago.
No, I don't know. I don't know who. It's pretty peripatetic here. So
Nice word choice, peripatetic.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to be the towel holder at AKA. So you move on if you're not. I don't know. I'll ask. I think.
All right, ask around, see if you because there's various suspects: Gray Maynard, Robbie Lawler, Josh Koscheck, various guys that might have left the area, but we're trying to narrow it down.
I would say Maynard would be a likely suspect.
All right. Well, we will see what you can do. If you find anything, email me and I'll do that. But now back to the fight. You were saying something about Chris Carriazo, who trains with Darren Uniyama.
Yes, Uyenoyama. So they've got. He's a friend of Knuckle Up, so by proxy. I should pick, but a sports agent friend of mine who is
not Mike Hogan, or is this Mike?
No, it was not Mike Hogan. Who despises both Darren Uyenoyama and is so total in his despising of Uyenoyama that he disposes anybody that even knows Uyenoyama. So I'm actually going to be watching the fight at his house and.
Which at the agent or at Uyenoyama's house?
No, at the agent's house. So it's like they used to talk about the Steve Jobs reality distortion field. I think that his hatred of Darren has extended to Carriazo But I guess realistically speaking, it's less about that for me, trying to knuckle up or not. It's more about the fact that Demetrius is, I think, really supremely talented.
Yeah, I think he's on top of his game. And Carrioso, frankly, I don't think he merits a title shot. I think he's a good fighter, but I think he's at the gatekeeper level, and I think that just Mighty Mouse just continues to flush out the division, and they got nobody. So, I'm glad it worked out, though, because I think Horiguchi needed the gimme fight that he got in Japan. That was a hot fight.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
Horiguchi develop. I'd like to see them
I care
develop.
about Horiguchi now.
Yeah, see, the kid's a badass, and I'd like to see them build him Japanese style. Just feed him some cans until he gets a title shot in Japan. Like, I mean, it's not like anybody's paying to see Demetrius Johnson fights, which is a shame because I think they're great. But frankly, like, I've heard this from more than one people. Like, I don't want to watch anybody
More than one
fight
people?
more than one people. Yes, subject noun, agreement, something. I don't know.
I've heard this from more than the Turks. And more
But more than one person has told me I don't want to watch somebody. I don't want to pay to watch somebody fight that my girlfriend could beat up. I don't want to pay to see somebody fight that Kid Nate, which I couldn't beat up Demetrius Johnson in a million years. But that I could look down on.
I've been beaten up by guys who are 135 pounds, man. So I'm not, tapped out by them. So I'm not making that claim at all.
Well, Joey Gallo, the mafia boss, he was only like 5'4.5", 150 pounds, and supposedly he was just hell on wheels.
And so was Tommy, the Joe Pesci character from.
But the real life Tommy DeSimone was 6'5". So
was he?
Yes.
I thought he was
5'6".
5'6". I remember that completely wrong. All right.
Yeah, you did. The movie overwrote your memory. Now, I watched Goodfellas again and just reread Wise Guys for no reason. And it's like, what kind of sick person am I where Wise Guys and Goodfellas is comfort reading and watching for me?
Well, you know me, whenever I get depressed, I go to YouTube and watch animal attack videos.
I love those. I love those.
Oh, the bear is hugging me. Yeah.
I like the one where the polar bear gets the woman by the ankle, and she's screaming like she had gone over one set of barriers and was taking pictures.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, she had that coming, but some kid just got eaten by tigers in India because he jumped over the fence into the moat, which is just stupid. Oh, one last thing before I get back to my Goodfellas point, which I do want to make before we wrap up the show. I saw the most disturbing video of otters and monkeys fighting at the Bronx Zoo. And
who's putting otters in the cage with monkeys?
The Bronx Zoo. They've got this display or had a display where monkeys and otters were living together, and the monkeys.
Oh, you mean like they do in nature?
Yeah, because you always
who's running the Bronx Zoo now, Mengele?
Apparently so, because the monkeys just cold jack with the otters with no mercy and complete contempt. Like they can grab them and tug them around and hold their head under the water, and so you see this one monkey going around just fucking with the otters. He's grabbing them by the tail and stirring them. He's holding the head down under the water until the otters just freaking out. And then the camera wanders around the cage for a minute, and then it comes back, and there's 20 otters in a seething, whirling stir around this monkey, and 3 or 4 of the other monkeys come around trying to help, and it ain't happening. That monkey fucked up.
That monkey was dead.
Got him. Oh yeah, they were not stopping. Those otters.
Otters are not nice animals, man.
They're ferrets. They're weasels. The meanest.
What are we saying? They rape. What is the animal they rape to death?
Oh, they rape anything to death. They rape female otters to death. They've filmed otters, male otters keeping a dead female that they drowned. They raped her in the water until she drowned. Then keeps the body around for a few days for more raping. And so otters.
Oh man. Well, speaking of which, you know what? I was talking. It's the same about the Polish village, and they were talking about the waves of troops. And this is something that I don't think I've read too many books about. They said that when the Germans rushed in, there was a lot of rape. But
Germans were notorious for that in World War II.
But when the Russians came back, there was rape and murder.
Rape and murder. So they were saying the Russians were even worse.
The Russians were even worse.
But so there were no murders with the Nazis? Come on now.
It was what was reported is that yes, women were subsequently raped, but
I see. The Russians were murdering the women they were raping, whereas the
Correct.
Nazis were like raping the women and probably murdering the village leaders or whatever.
Correct. Correct.
I can buy that. Have you ever read? There's a book called Woman in Berlin: A Diary of the Post-War Era, by a woman who was a German woman who.
I've heard of this.
It is disturbing reading, but well worth a read, man. It was
You know what? I'm trying to go light on the disturbing reading. I just stick to my animal attack videos.
Probably a good call. But let me bring up my Goodfellas point before we end it. Not only was Tommy DeSimone a hulking brute, and he raped Karen Hill, Henry Hill's wife, which they didn't put in the movie or the book, but that's one of the things that got him whacked. Like within his own crew, Jimmy Burke and those guys signed off on the hit because of that. But also, Paul Vario was incredibly huge and scary. Like they didn't get that across in the movie. If you've ever Googled Google Image,
Sorvino didn't have the gravitas. So
no, he was ominous and brooding. Yeah. But like Paul Vario, if you look at him, was a big, hulking, ugly guy with fucked up glasses and just and like just like one of the reporters that knew him on some Real Gangsters Goodfellas show from the History Channel I watched on YouTube was like they did not capture the aura of menace around Big Paulie. Like this guy, he walked in a restaurant, you didn't even have to turn around and the temperature dropped, and just a horrible, scary, awful person. And also Jimmy Burke was much bigger than Robert De Niro. Like these were just big, fucking hulking monsters. Anyway, that was
I tell you that time my grandmother actually worked in the penal system and used to work in prisons as I don't know what she was. She was a prison administrator. And she ended up, everybody loved this little black lady, so she ended up being friends with all these like mafioso guys. And indeed, at my freshman year at Stanford, my entire dorm room was mafia outfitted. I had a little stereo, all the stuff that
it fell off a truck somewhere.
That fell off the truck and these guys, they would love her. When they would get out of prison, they would say, Mrs. whatever her name is, Mrs. Anything you need, there's a problem, you let me know. So at one point, the guys at Dutch East India, a famous indie distribution company,
famous for burning people and never paying their bills, but anyway,
jerking me around for a bunch of money for records I had sold. And my grandmother had called me. I got off the phone with the guy, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna send you a check. We're gonna go." And she said, "How you doing?" I go, "Oh, Grandma." She goes, "You know what? I'll handle it."
Oh my goodness!
And she went in to Dutch East India with one of these guys. She told the guy, "Oh, it's wrong. My grandson he's struggling trying to get through school. These guys are not playing." She goes, "We'll handle it." So she drives him because they worked in Long Island City where Dutch East India was. So it was real easy for them. He comes to the office. She gives the information. The guy goes in. I got my money that afternoon.
No, it's like they knew how to do business in Long Island, it sounds like.
Yeah, they're like, well, we can't do business with you anymore. This is unprofessional. What? We're not doing business if I'm not getting paid. So,
No, it's not called business if everybody's not getting paid.
Yeah, but that's one thing that's never captured. These guys, they were the big guys. I used to work out in the gym at Olympia, called the Olympia in Ridge, Queens, with a lot of mafioso guys. And they were really big guys. But again, I was 16 and 165 pounds, so everybody was big to me.
Yeah, they always seem big. One last stupid anecdote, and I can't remember the dude's name, but one of the guys who was, I believe, for a while acting boss of the Chicago Mafia while Tony Accardo was still alive and the real boss, but he would always have an acting boss. Jackie the Lackey Cerrone, that was his name. He was in prison in Bastrop, Texas, really close to Austin. And back in the day, me and all my punk rock friends, we were like writing letters to serial killers and shit. Somebody had a John Wayne Gacy painting and everything. And one of my idiot friends decides to start a correspondence with Jackie the Lackey Cerrone. And like, don't do that. That was like, it ended up costing his family, like, he got grifted for like thousands of dollars. Like, this guy was a monstrous, evil scumbag with tentacles that just scary and bad and looking to jack you and, don't be writing fan letters to mobsters.
I had this spoken word record with Manson on it, so I had dealings with Manson and the Manson family, and those guys, they used to call it the gimme game. And it started, I was working with his lawyer to get the stuff out of prison because he wasn't supposed to be doing stuff that was semi for profit. And, it probably started around the third email that people would ask for, you know, I need this. Small amounts of money, and it's my hip hop name is not Thrift E for nothing. I got nothing to give you, man. Nothing. No, zero. That's what you get from me. Nothing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you don't. Yeah, yeah, you don't do that. But Jack the Lackey is way scarier than
than Charlie.
Yeah, I guess.
But
Anyway,
hold on. So did you make a pick for the headline fight?
it's Mighty Mouse. No problem. It'll be a decision. Fuck, he might knock Carrioso out, but no chance. Carrioso, I give nil chance.
Okay.
And you?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. They're always weird. With Patrick Cote on the fight card, they're always weird ankle.
And Manny. This is the first time, to my knowledge, you've had Gambarian and Cote, an Armenian and a Quebecois on the same card. Things could go disastrously.
You could join the troika of guys who with freak injuries in the cage. And somebody had compiled a bunch of freak cage injuries the other day, and I was like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. So,
I never liked those like skating videos where you see guys like busting their chin on the rails up the stool, skaters seem to love that.
I think skaters need to see it because it can't be all highlight reel stuff. The real ramifications of what's happening. But I'm very superstitious about it. I think that if you watch fighters get hurt, your brain absorbs it and it's like, hey, I should try that.
Next thing you know, knees are popping out of joint. All right, Eugene, I think we have rambled enough. Thank you for the delightful edification, as always. Where can people find you? They can find you at Eugene S. Robinson on Twitter, read you on Aussie.com, Vice's Fightland, Knuckle Up, anything else
I got a piece today up on Aussie on Alexandria Quartet. Most of you won't have the intestinal fortitude to make it through this book, but they're fantastic.
I see. I looked at that article. I hadn't heard of the dude before, and I looked at the article. I haven't read it yet, so I will scope it out. You can follow me on Twitter at KidNate, although I don't tweet about MMA anymore. Follow Bloody Elbows.
Why not?
Twitter. Because there's too many idiot assholes in the MMA world, and it just drives me crazy. I don't want to hear from the PC police, the self-appointed PC police of MMA. I am not the problem in MMA.
I thought that was somebody's signer, right? Isn't that somebody's signer? Anyway, that's great.
Yeah, so I gave that up. Although we did have one, I got to give a shout out to one of our viewers. Although now I can't remember his name, but he's in academia, and there was this guy calling himself MMA Philosophy, who apparently had inflated his resume a little bit and was fucking with me, and I had a back and forth with him. But then Professor Flynn, I believe is his name, actually decoded who the guy was from his emails and was like, dude, no, you're not at Harvard currently, are you? And the guy hasn't tweeted since. So that was
at Harvard, but you're not even in Boston. So
So that was the happy ending to my MMA tweeting career. So I mostly moved on. But actually, the thing was, I don't care to read MMA tweets. So I've discovered that Twitter, you can actually read all kind of interesting things. So I've weeded out all the MMA bullshit and got more interesting things going on. Anyway, I'm too cool for MMA. That's what I'm trying to say, Eugene. That's what I'm trying to say.
The best thing about Twitter that most people it's I think a bug in their feature. If you befriend somebody or whatever,
Congressman Anthony Weiner sends you a dick pic? Is that?
That's what. So if you okay, MMA, Bloody Elbow, you click on it, then next thing they will suggest things for you. So a friend of mine recently, he sends me an invite and I okay his invite, and then immediately I start getting invites to, you might also like bare bottom sub boys. Why am I all of a sudden getting? Oh, I get it. Okay.
See, it's all algorithms. They know what you're looking for, Eugene. Maybe even before you.
He's just minding his own business, clicking through, doing his own thing, completely unmindful of the fact that it's putting him on blast with all of his entire Twitter list of people.
I have never seen that phenomenon. I will be on the lookout. And good timely warning, because I was about to start chatting with Anthony Weiner myself, but
looking for another job. What is Anthony Weiner doing these days?
I don't know. I think his wife still has a high-level job or something. Yeah. I don't know. feel bad for that guy, man. I mean, first off, the name, like with the name like Wiener, like it's
With
like
a name like
faded.
you can't be that guy.
No, but like just Anyway,
All right,
that's
all right.
enough. Anyway, so give us a like on YouTube, subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube, read us at BloodyElbow.com, and Eugene will be back. I'll have a 6th round after the fights with Zane Simon. I'll be back tomorrow with actually I won't, but Dallas.
Dallas. Let me tell you about that guy.
Indeed, Dallas Winston, Zane Simon, and Conor Rubish will be back with probably a 3-hour MMA vivisection on this card, since I won't be there to keep them on somewhat of a schedule, although we're going way over time ourselves today. And I'll be back with Zane Simon with the 6th round, then Eugene will have the knuckle up on Monday. Then we'll be back with the Care Don't Care for the big money Gunnar Nelson versus somebody card in Sweden next week.
That's good. Here, let me do this again. My level of shame at the kind of place I'm in.
I know.
Gunnar Nelson from the Nelsons and whoever he's fighting. Eddie Van Halen. I think he's fighting Eddie Van Halen.
No. Wouldn't you pay to see that?
Yeah, I would actually. Anyway, all right, man. All right.
Adios. See you next time. Adios, MMA aficionados. Thanks.
All right.